Hey guys, Chip here with Main Street Mower. Behind me is the TX1000, and today we're going to be playing with the bucket attachment. We're going to be going over the do's and don'ts and how to use this TX1000 with a bucket, how to attach it, and how to actually use it in a delicate and sensitive area. Behind me is a no-till garden. Basically, they just laid cardboard on top of grass and then hay on top of that. So it's actually a pretty slippery surface, and we're going to be spreading compost all over these marked lines. We'll see how the tracks do, twisting and turning on kind of this slippery hay and cardboard combo. This machine has been a fantastic rental product for us, and sometimes people ask, how do you use a bucket? How do you use the TX1000? So today's gonna be a little tutorial on how to use it, how to use the float mode, how to use the controllers, the tilt and the dump and the lift and all those things, and also how to use its float and grading, right? How do you flip a pile of mulch? How do you do all these kind of things? So we're gonna be playing around with this a little bit. We're gonna lay out this compost on this garden and see how fast we can get it done. You know, we tried with a wheelbarrow and shovel yesterday. We got these 2 rows done in like an hour. I know that sounds like ridiculously slow, but the compost is super duper sticky and heavy, and it was just killing my wife. She could not scoop it into a wheelbarrow with her darn. I was at work. She's like, Chip, can you bring home a dingo? I said, I got you. We'll knock it out. We'll make a video out of it. So that's what we're doing here today. We're gonna do this compost layout. We have marked all of our lines. Let's go crank this thing up. We'll start moving it around, and there'll be some opportunities for us to talk about all the different features. Check this thing out. Okay guys, so before I get started, I want to show you a little bit about how to take a good scoop, right? I don't want to scoop up my normal soil. I just want to hit the compost. This compost is weed-free. It's been cooked and gone through the composting process, so none of these seeds in here are fertile or anything like that. So I want to scoop as much as I can without wasting any, but without scooping the dirt below, right? So I'm paying attention to the top surface of my bucket, that top piece of metal right here. It's kind of telling me the level of the bottom of my blade. They're parallel to one another. So if that top bar is a little tilted down, I know my bottom part of my bucket's a little tilted down. So I want to make sure it's a little bit planed correctly. And it's even worth to step off the dingo and check, how's my bucket look? You know, right now I'm pitched up a little too high. These dingos are so convenient, you can get on and off them really easily, right? You don't have to undo a bunch of safeties, you don't have to climb out of a safety belt. That is something so nice about this mini skid steer platform, is you can get on and off easily and you can see very well. So I'm gonna hop off, make sure I'm tilted correctly, take a big scoop and head it over for my first line. Check it. So, as you can see, I'm dumping it out. I'm using the tilt. I can kind of feather it and shake it out. I don't have to dump it all at once. It is pretty sticky material. I'll be able to spread this out with a hoe later or shovel to make it really even. But for now, I'm just putting down some mass so I don't have to use the wheelbarrow as much. We're gonna keep going and do another pile. Hey guys, I just want to show you how easy these controls are. I think a lot of times people are really intimidated by a machine like this. They don't understand how the controls work. But this is your steering, forward and reverse, right? This controls my right track and my left track. So if I wanted to spin in a circle, I twist it. Circle that way, twist it. Super duper easy. And this is my bucket control. That's down, this is up. Then I have tilt back and tilt forward. But we're gonna drive it over there and dump it, and I'll show you how easy these controls are. I'm just kind of bumping it. I'm trying to make this sticky dirt fall out. I don't want to lose it all. There we go. I have enough for another load. Guys, so we just made some light work of some seriously heavy shoveling. I'm so thankful that I had the TX1000 to do this job. If I would have been out here with a wheelbarrow and shovel, this would have whooped me, would have ruined my whole weekend probably. But we just came out here and did it in little over a half hour. I mean, literally 30 minutes, have all the material down that I need. Now I can spread it out with a hoe, and it's gonna be a lot simpler than loading it into a wheelbarrow, rolling it over this uneven terrain, and then unloading or dumping it all, and then spreading it out. So the Dingo is the perfect unit for this type of work, for spreading dirt, for leveling dirt. Now that I'm done, I'm gonna go back and use the float feature to smooth out all of my track marks. But you could see I was on the most disturbable possible ground, I guess you could say, with this hay on top of cardboard. But as long as I was going straight, you know, that's why you saw my approach. A lot of times I wasn't trying to make sharp turns once I was on the garden. I would just try to make myself go in the straightest possible line, but it really didn't disturb the hay at all. I never had to get out and put it back over the cardboard, stayed exactly where I drove over it, and even helped me kind of squish down some of the high spots, because this is the same location that I had last year's garden. So all the lumps that you see now, I had lumps in different places last year. It's a very lumpy space. But the Dingo 1000 with the tracks, the wide tracks, did a great job of not rutting and not sinking and kind of floating over all that uneven terrain. Guys, the Dingo bucket is a great tool, super easy to use, super easy to take on and off. There's two levers up here. You can open them and I'll show you how to back out of your bucket. If you were doing a job with multiple attachments, the bucket is a must-have. It's just simple for all those kind of moving around, especially grading and that sort of thing. If you have to move material around, the bucket is a fantastic attachment for you. Guys, the TX1000 is super simple to use. The attachments are easy to change, especially the non-hydraulic attachments, the forks, the bucket, anything like that. There's even a grading bar. Makes it just super easy to use. We're gonna go show you how to do the float mode, and you can watch me do some of that too. But check this out. So behind me are a couple little marks, just twist marks, right, from moving the Dingo around and trying to make this sharp 90-degree turn. I'm gonna use the float mode and try to level some of these out. They're not super deep, so it's not the best example of what the float mode has potential of, but it'll help you guys see kind of how to do it. Basically, I'll get my bucket, this is the bottom of my bucket, parallel to the ground. I'm gonna tilt it down so that my nose of the bucket engages a little bit, and then I'll push the control lever all the way forward, and it locks. If I push it all the way forward, it locks forward, and that keeps it engaged with the ground, and it adds a certain PSI. I'm not 100% sure of the exact PSI it adds, but basically keeps a constant pressure. And even if the terrain changes, it'll always keep the bucket edge pressed into the ground. So if you're gonna grade a long driveway or grade a long area, this would be a great feature to kind of keep it engaged with the ground. Even as you have oscillations and changes, it'll keep the bucket engaged. Well guys, that was a great example of how float mode works. Obviously, as there's lumps and changes, little variations, it's applying that downforce. It's gonna smooth those little changes out so that it's even with the majority of the level of the ground, right? You might have to go over a spot multiple times to make it perfectly level. One thing I noticed too is as you get to the end of your road, as you're grading and you get to the end of your row, you might have a pile up at the base of your scoop, right? Underneath here, creates like a little wad of dirt that was the uneven dirt. And you can then, while leaving it in float mode, tilt up a little bit and let a little of that out at a time to create a nice smooth finish in the end. It's not something I've perfected and excellent at yet, but you can see how I made this very rough area that would trip me or my children very easily, a very smooth area in a few seconds. Guys, that's just one of the very many features that the Toro Dingo has. This product's been out and around for a long time, and Toro has it dialed in. There's a lot of mini skid steers on the market, but few, if any, do it as good as the Toro Dingo. Guys, we appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more helpful tips and attachments with the Toro Dingo. Check it out. See ya.